What if the reason most people struggle with money isn't lack of effort, but the fact that they were never taught how the system actually works? In this video, I'll explain why financial education is not taught in schools in the simplest way possible. No confusing terms, no financial advice, just education to help you understand how the system really works. When people talk about financial education, they often imagine practical skills, understanding money, managing income, recognizing how systems behave over time. But financial education isn't just about numbers, it's about interpretation. It teaches how money moves, how time changes outcomes, and how decisions interact with systems that are larger than any individual. That kind of understanding doesn't come from memorizing formulas, it comes from learning how structures work beneath the surface. And that distinction matters. Schools are built to standardize knowledge. Their primary role is to create consistency across large populations. Subjects are chosen based on how easily they can be measured, tested, and scaled. Math has clear answers. Science has repeatable experiments. History has agreed timelines. These subjects fit neatly into standardized systems. Financial behavior doesn't. Money decisions are contextual. They change with time, environment, and systems. What works in one decade may not work in the next. What works for one structure may fail in another. That makes financial education difficult to formalize. Financial understanding requires questioning assumptions. It encourages people to ask how rules are designed, who benefits from them, and how incentives shape outcomes. That kind of thinking is not linear. It doesn't produce uniform answers, and it often challenges existing structures rather than reinforcing them. Educational systems, by design, prioritize predictability over exploration. They reward following frameworks, not examining who created them. This doesn't make schools ineffective. It explains their boundaries. Basic skills like arithmetic or budgeting can be taught easily. System awareness is harder. Understanding money means understanding time-based effects, compounding outcomes, institutional behavior, incentives that aren't visible immediately. These concepts don't resolve quickly. They require long observation, not short exams. Schools operate on short feedback loops. Money systems operate on long ones. That mismatch creates a gap. Most people don't notice the lack of financial education early in life because the consequences take time to appear. Early adulthood offers flexibility. Mistakes are small. Systems feel forgiving. The cost of misunderstanding is delayed. By the time the effects compound, education feels like something that should have happened earlier, but the system has already moved on. The gap becomes visible only in hindsight. When you see education as a system with limits, not a complete preparation for life, the absence of financial education starts to make sense, not as an accident, but as a design outcome. The absence of financial education doesn't create immediate failure. It creates delayed confusion, and delayed confusion is much harder to correct. Without structured financial education, most people learn about money only after mistakes occur. Bills arrive, commitments accumulate. Decisions made years earlier begin producing results. At that point, learning becomes reactive. Instead of understanding systems before interacting with them, people are forced to interpret outcomes after the fact. The system doesn't pause for learning, it continues running. When formal education is missing, informal advice takes its place. Friends, family, culture, and social norms become the primary teachers. This advice is rarely wrong in intention, but it's often outdated, simplified, or context-specific. Because it's familiar, it feels trustworthy. Because it's repeated, it feels true. The problem isn't misinformation. It's partial information presented as complete. Another common pattern is postponement. Money is treated as something that can be understood later, once income is higher or life is more stable. This assumption ignores how early decisions shape long-term trajectories. Systems don't wait for clarity to begin compounding outcomes. By the time understanding becomes urgent, options are narrower and adjustments are harder. The delay itself becomes costly. When people struggle with money, they often internalize the problem. They assume they're bad at managing finances or lack discipline. Without educational context, it's easy to confuse system complexity with personal failure. This misinterpretation is damaging. It discourages curiosity and reinforces silence. People stop asking questions precisely when questions are most needed. Over time, confusion around money becomes normal. People accept not fully understanding how things work. They operate based on rules of thumb and hope outcomes will improve. This normalization keeps the gap in place. When uncertainty feels standard, there's no pressure to close it. Over time, confusion around money becomes normal. People accept not fully understanding how things work. They operate based on rules of thumb and hope outcomes will improve. This normalization keeps the gap in place. When uncertainty feels standard, there's no pressure to close it. Systems don't correct misunderstandings unless they disrupt functionality. As long as participation continues, confusion doesn't create friction for the system. Individuals bear the cost. The system remains stable. This imbalance persists not because of intent, but because of structure. The problem with not teaching financial education isn't that people make mistakes. It's that they make the same mistakes repeatedly, without ever being shown how the system actually works. Once it's clear that financial education is missing by design, not by accident, the conversation shifts away from blame and toward understanding how people adapt inside that gap. The question is no longer why schools don't teach it, but how people are expected to function without it. Modern financial systems are not built around formal instruction. They are built around participation. People are expected to learn by using systems, not by studying them first. Open an account, take a loan, make payments, adjust over time. From a system perspective, this works. The system continues operating regardless of individual understanding. But from an individual perspective, learning through exposure means mistakes happen before clarity arrives. Financial education is often replaced with experience because experience is uneven, but scalable. No curriculum needs updating. No standardized testing is required. Outcomes emerge naturally over time. The problem is that experience teaches after consequences appear, not before decisions are made. And systems don't rewind to accommodate learning curves. This creates an environment where understanding always lags behind action. One key shift smart system thinkers make is recognizing that authority doesn't equal completeness. Schools teach what can be standardized. Systems reward what can be repeated. Financial understanding sits outside both. Smart individuals don't wait for permission or validation to question money systems. They accept that understanding money requires independent observation, not formal approval. This isn't rebellion, it's realism. Traditional education emphasizes rules. Follow steps, apply formulas, get results. Money systems don't operate cleanly under rules alone. They operate through patterns that change with time, incentives, and scale. Smart behavior shifts from asking, "What rule should I follow?" to "What pattern is forming here?" Patterns reveal more than instructions ever could. Lack of financial education doesn't punish people who are cautious. It punishes people who stop questioning. Confidence without understanding leads to rigid behavior. Curiosity keeps behavior flexible. Smart thinkers remain curious even when things seem stable. They ask why outcomes look the way they do, not just whether outcomes are good or bad. Curiosity slows mistakes before they compound. Institutions evolve slowly and deliberately. Individuals learn in bursts, often triggered by pressure. This mismatch means people are usually trying to learn systems that have already been in motion for decades. Smart thinkers accept this gap and focus on interpretation, not catching up. They don't aim to master everything. They aim to stop misunderstanding the basics. This shift changes everything. Instead of feeling deprived of education, smart thinkers ask what the system assumes they will learn on their own. That question reveals incentives, boundaries, and blind spots far more clearly than any textbook. Once education is seen as a limited system rather than a complete one, expectations adjust. Financial understanding stops being something that should have been given and starts becoming something that must be actively observed. That awareness sets the stage for real control. When you zoom out far enough, the absence of financial education in schools stops looking like negligence. It starts looking like a boundary, and boundaries matter. Formal education ends at the point where systems become too dynamic to standardize. Money systems change with policy, technology, incentives, and scale. Teaching fixed answers in a moving system creates false confidence. Schools avoid that risk by focusing on stable knowledge. The result isn't ignorance by design, it's limitation by necessity. But limitations don't remove consequences. they only delay awareness. Many people assume that if financial education were taught formally, control would automatically follow. But control doesn't come from knowing definitions. It comes from understanding behavior over time. Someone can know every financial term and still misread how systems respond to real-world decisions. Schools are good at transferring information. They are not designed to train long-term observation. Money demands observation more than instruction. Blaming schools, governments, or institutions feels logical, but it doesn't improve outcomes. The moment blame is replaced with interpretation, clarity improves. Instead of asking, "Why didn't they teach me this?" the more useful question becomes, "What assumptions am I still carrying because no one challenged them early?" That question exposes blind spots faster than anger ever will. Financial systems don't require comprehension to function. They require participation. As long as people earn, spend, borrow, and save, the system remains stable, even if understanding is low. That's why education is optional from a system perspective. Function continues either way. Individuals, however, pay the price of misunderstanding, not immediately, but cumulatively. True control doesn't come from knowing everything. That's impossible. It comes from knowing what not to assume. Once you stop assuming money will behave intuitively, decisions slow down. Expectations become realistic. Surprises decrease. This is the real benefit of financial awareness. Financial education isn't absent because it's unimportant. It's absent because it can't be standardized without losing accuracy. Understanding money was never meant to be downloaded. It was meant to be observed. And once that's accepted, the gap stops feeling unfair and starts feeling navigable. This content is for educational purposes only. It is not financial advice. If this helped you understand why financial education works differently from other subjects, consider subscribing for more educational breakdowns like this.